Hello, we're going live in just a second, just a couple of seconds. We're going to go live now. Thank you for joining me for this next segment in terms of the keys to long-lasting love. And when I started out this series, I started out thinking about three keys to long-lasting love and a relationship that thrives. And then I started looking over all these other keys that I have. And so I thought I would just continue with the keys because each one of them are important. And I really believe if um, couples master at least three of these, that they will be on the road to long lasting love and a relationship that thrives. When I think about relationships, I think about um, relationships going through three distinct stages. That first stage, and we all know the stages. The first stage is when that romantic stage. Well, before the romantic stage is like that attraction to each other, and then you decide to become a couple. The romantic stage, and everything is wonderful, right? Or at least most of the time. And if things go off track, it's like one or both persons will say, "Well, I'll just change that when we become, when we get married or what have you." And so, and everybody knows that the honeymoon stage ends, and then it ends in a very predictable stage. So, a lot of people call that the power struggle stage. I call it the growth stage. And if couples don't know the purpose of that particular stage where growth is supposed to happen and any healing from previous relationships and previous experiences, that they often break up and they miss the opportunity to have the awareness and the tools to go to stage three. And that's the stage where they experience long lasting love so that they can thrive together. And so that's my purpose for doing the series because I'm interested in supporting couples to have a relationship that thrives. There is basic awareness and basic skills to make that happen. And so these three keys, well, now it's going to be more keys, are very much about that. So I'm going to just do a brief intro for anybody who is just meeting me for the very first time. Many of you already know me, so you already know this. So bear with me for a couple of seconds. So the reason why this is important to me, let me introduce myself. For those of you who do not know me, I am Melva Johnson. I am co-founder of the Johnson Relationship Institute for Couples and co-author of the book Mining for Gold in Your Marriage and a couple others that are coming up. Excuse me. And the reason why I want to be clear that co-author, co-founder is because I didn't build this body of work over the past four decades all by myself. I did it with my late beloved soulmate husband, Jesse. And so our purpose, we were real clear about our purpose in coming together. Yes, it was to have, a wonderful marriage and be parents to Paul and Brian. That was part of our purpose. And we also had a purpose to serve. And we were guided to serve couples. And before we could serve couples, then we had to do our work as a couple. And before we did our work as a couple, we had to do our individual work to make sure that we showed up as best we could, as the best version of ourselves in any situation. So marriage has the ups and downs, and the ups and downs, the way that we looked at it and that I continue to look at it, the ups are to be enjoyed and savored. The downs, those are the growth opportunities, and that is where we need the keys. Excuse me. So we knew that we had to be on track if we were going to be credible in this work. So that is the foundation of everything that I have to say today and everything that I said before and everything that I will say after today. So, so far with the keys, I've shared three keys. One is shared goals based on a vision. The other one is effective communication, talking to each other in a way that the other can hear and listening to each other in a way that the other feels heard. And then the third key was conflict resolution. You have to have a way to work things through. And again, this is a growth opportunity for both partners. So, the key for today, this key this time is emotional connection. Now, many people consider emotional connection like a lifeline for couples. They call it like the heart of the relationship. And so, what I'm going to do this time is explore with you this whole journey of connection, its significance, ways to nurture it, and how to stay on track with it. And I'm going to share with you an example of a couple. And of course, the names Marlon and Marlo are not their real names, but they're an example of a couple who is illustrating how emotional connection works and how it does not work. So I want to start off asking a question. What is emotional connection? What is it? So, when I look at it, it's like an emotional bond that two people share. It's just a special bond between those two people. It's the feeling of not just feeling understood, but it's feeling like, this person really gets me, really gets me. It's like a glue. It's like a glue, an invisible glue that holds the relationship together. It's like perfect pieces of a puzzle that fit together just right, just right. And so when I asked Marlon and Marlo about what it meant to them, they were saying, they were almost saying this at the same time. It's like when they truly felt seen and heard and valued by each other. Seen, heard, and valued. So when I think about that, I think about, that's, I, Marlon says, or was it Marlo, one of them said that, it was Marlo. She said, it's that feeling when I get when Marlon hugs me. Sometimes it's just the way that he looks at me, And she said, I just get all kinds of warm and fuzzy feelings. I know some of you can relate to that. When you have that special moment with each other and you have these wonderful feelings because you are truly aware of what kind of feelings you have when things go off track. But it's those warm and fuzzy feelings that you want to have more of more often. I know I'm not the only romantic here. Okay, so let's look at some reasons why emotional connection is so important. So, emotional connection fuels physical connection. So many times when people are sharing with me, especially when men are complaining about the status of their sexual experience in the relationship, I remind them that foreplay begins in the kitchen and the living room. It's like the things that you do together on an ongoing basis, the way that you connect on an ongoing basis that fuels physical connection. Because you have all these good feelings. And so it naturally leads to the next level. And then some folks say that it's a happiness boost. Yeah. Because, when you're feeling connected, you're laughing, you're talking, you're having fun together. And it's also fortifies and supports being resilient. Because when you go through life's challenges together, when you go through challenges with each other, it's like you can go through them and get on the other side of them because you have that bond. You become more and more resilient. Can any of you relate to that? And many of you have experienced that. And many of you would like to have more of that. So here's the thing. It's so important to be aware of ways that emotional connection is sabotaged. Marlon says that, it's so important to be aware of it because it is easy to accidentally hurt the bond. So here's 3 ways. And this was true of what happened with Marlon and Marlo. So Marlon said that one of the things that he did that sabotaged the connection with Marlo is when he wasn't listening. I mean, she would be pouring her heart out to him, and if he had something else on his mind, he wasn't there. So he wasn't really listening. Or if he was listening, he truly wasn't, because he was thinking about his response, what he was going to say in response. I know no one listening here does that, but Marlon did. And the other was, Marlo said, so the other thing that ruptured our emotional bond was that with our busy lives, we really did not take the time for each other to just have Marlo time. And it really hurt us. And then the other one was breaking trust. You know, those lies, even the little ones will sabotage emotional connection, even the little ones. And so Marlo was saying that when they lost emotional connection, now this couple loves each other and they've been together for a long, long time. And so when they got to that place where they lost emotional connection, she said it was like felt like a crack in the foundation of their relationship. She said, and then she started feeling lonely and started feeling isolated because they weren't doing a lot of talking, they weren't doing a lot of connecting. And Marlon said that I started feeling distant and I felt myself pulling away from Marlo. She said, and then that's why I started feeling resentful. She said, it even got to the place where I was feeling bitter. Marlon then says, what made it worse? Our sex life became mechanical whenever we had it, or it was non-existent. And so they both said almost together, that's why we got help, because we knew that what we were doing, you know, we tried to fix it, but we couldn't do it on our own. And they were glad that they did. And they want everyone to know that there is hope. So after they got help, they found out what to do. I mean, they got really busy so that they became more aware of what emotional connection looks like, feels like, and what they could do to restore it in their relationship. Because they didn't want the feelings that they were having, the negative feelings that they were having about each other, to continue to expand and grow. So here's 3 things that they discovered on their journey to turning things around. So emotional connection is about talking about feelings, which is easy for many females, but sometimes is not as easy for males. And so it wasn't very easy for Marlon, but he was open to the challenge. He was open to stretch himself to grow in that way. So they did benefit from that. And then the other part was about the quality time. That was one of Marlo's complaints. And so they started putting it on the calendar, making sure that they had that time with just the 2 of them. And even if they went out sometimes with another couple or went out with a group, they also made sure that they had some time during that week for just the 2 of them. And they didn't have to go out. Sometimes they would just have hangout time at home with just the 2 of them. I just thought about what's his name, who had the song. Okay, I'm dating myself. Just the 2 of us. Who was that? Anyway, I just thought about that song. And then they stepped up physical touching. I mean, just little affectionate touches, like the hugs and the holding hands and the kisses and that kind of thing, because that builds up those good feelings that leads to whatever. And the other thing that they did was they thought about the rich, beautiful, wonderful experiences that they had together, and they just kind of reminisced. And Marlo says, you know, that rekindled something when we started doing all of that. That rekindled something between us. And of course, Marlon said, and amen to that, and amen to that. And so So they consciously did that, because when you start doing something new, you have to really think about it and do it over and over and over and over again, so that a new habit is developed. Because those old habits are hardwired. They're hardwired in our being, hardwired in our brain. So they did the work. And of course, they didn't have overnight success, but they did the small steps that they were taking moving forward. They did feel better about moving forward, because they were laughing more. They started talking more about their dreams for their future. They felt more peace and harmony in their relationship. All that kind of stuff is connecting. And they made a decision. I mean, they had these kind of results because they made a decision and a commitment that they were going to develop that we factor between them. I talked about that we factor before. In the survival stage, is you versus me. In the working together stage, to get on track together toward that vision, is the you and me stage. And then that we stage is that solid bond. So they were moving in that direction because they were really clear that they wanted to cherish what they had together. They wanted to nurture it, because they were in it to win it and to thrive. And so here's one thing that's beneath the surface of all of that. Both of them knew that they had to become the change that they wanted to see. They could no longer just look at what the other person was not doing. When they became the change that they wanted to see, then they were focusing on how they were going to step up in the level, how they were going to show up more and more as the best version of themselves, how they were going to become the love that they wanted to see in the other person. It was like, and all of us have heard of the law of attraction. It was like they were putting that law of attraction to work. And so, like I was saying earlier, it wasn't easy. It took time, but they were dedicated and they were intentional, and they began to build the skills, because this is like a mindset and a skill set. People that thrive, couples that thrive, they have a certain mindset and a certain skill set that is in alignment with that. So let me ask you a question. What about you? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a bare, almost non-existent emotional connection, and 10 on the other side being a deep, loving emotional connection, where would both of you say that you are on the scale? My next question is it where you want to be? If it is not where you want it to be, I'm inviting you to take the marriage happiness quiz. Before I was calling it the marriage strength quiz. It's the same thing, but the marriage happiness quiz. And I'm going to put it in the comments section so that whatever platform you're looking at this on, you'll be able to have the link to it. So this quiz is the first step to a reality check of what you're dealing with. And what is it that Maya Angelou says? Well, Angelou says, when we know better, we do better. So we have to know what's going on first. So the quiz just gives you a snapshot of not only what your emotional connection looks like, but 9 other areas, what that looks like as well. And what is important here is that when you look at the results, you can easily sort them out in terms of looking at, okay, so based on our results, are we just surviving, or are we thriving, or are we someplace in between? But first things first, and that is to take the quiz. Because one thing that the quiz does when you get the results is like it helps you to have a conversation. Have a conversation because you can look at what's working. It's like, wow, we're doing really well here. And we want to keep doing that. We want to keep reinforcing that. And then it helps you to see the areas to improve. Because, again, when we know better, we do better. So when you know what those areas are, you can do like Marlo and Marlon and make a plan to do just that. to bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be. So I'm encouraging you to take the quiz and look at the results and have that conversation. And if you want to go further than that, that is possible too. But for just now, think about the quiz and take the quiz. So I would say, life is too short. Don't settle for just surviving in your relationship. Don't settle for just having a mediocre relationship. You deserve a relationship where you can enjoy long lasting love and that you can thrive. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to next time. Oh, thank you for the hellos in the comments section. I look forward to joining you next time. So looks like the series is going to be longer. I'm going to come up with another key because there's so many, and I like sharing them with you. Thanks again. Take care. Bye.